Hi everyone! This is the first of a series of videos that I want to do, tentatively called writers interviews. It's not a very creative name, but it's basically where I want to interview writers of all different kinds and basically help document and spotlight the diversity in the creative writing community all around the world, because it's a very wide community and I think there can be something for everyone found here. Um, since this is the first video, I thought I'd start things off by asking some questions to myself to get a feel of what it's like. So first, a little about me. My name is Aileen Zhao. I'm a rising senior in high school as of the filming of this video. I will get older as time does pass. um, I write primarily poetry and short stories these days, and I've won a national Scholastic Gold Medal for my poetry and a national silver medal for my flash fiction. And I'm also published in a few literary magazines. I've been writing for a long time, and I really want to share that passion with the world. So you can start off with the questions. So the first question is, how did you start writing? For me, this would probably my most defining memory would probably be in fourth grade. My teacher had these sessions, well, not sessions. She would have these blocks of time every class or every other class where it was basically silent free writing time, and you could just get out your notebook and settle somewhere in the classroom. A lot of people fought for the cool elastic bouncy chairs, but yeah, you would find someone in the classroom and you could just write for a while. And you didn't have to show anyone what you wrote, which is probably good, because I never finished most of my stories, but it really got me, creating that kind of space and that kind of atmosphere really got me passionate specifically about pursuing creative writing. So that's I think, I'm pretty sure, fairly certain that's where I got my start. Okay, so the second question is, what is your favorite format to write in? My favorite format, I mean, recently, and by recently I mean in the past 3 years or so, I've been writing a lot of poetry. I think it's a really wonderful format. I think it's very flexible. You can do a ton with it. You can find two poems and they look nothing alike, but they're both still poetry, right? Yeah. It's also really cool to me how short poems can be, which is not to say other types of writing can't be short and also good, but there's a lot of poems that are very brief, but can do a lot within those brief, limited amount of words, and that in itself is really really cool and requires a lot of thinking. In addition to the formats, in addition to poetry, it's just that aside from that, I really like interdisciplinary works, and trying to break the boundaries of format and stuff. What if I love when prose pieces or stories turn out to be use script format, or open verse, or when they literally go into graphics and playing around with how visually words are laid out, or just comics, I think, are an example of this. They're a very they're an everyman's example of this, but I think it's a good example of this, how they combine a bunch of art and writing, and it's really cool. And video games too. I think in some ways video games are this incredibly fascinating combination of a bunch of different artistic mediums that get to be that get together and try to make not only a story but an experience. And I think you can do really cool things with that. I'm not very good at video games though, but they do inspire me a lot. Cool. So the third question is, what is your favorite thing to write about? This is a pretty broad question, and it changes all the time for me. Like last this time last year it was pro wrestling, and I still like to write about pro wrestling. One of the things I've always like really loved incorporating into my writing, or just thinking about in terms of writing, or just studying in general, it would be mythology and folklore and fairy tales. I just think it's like really cool how like these kinds of stories can like emerge from different cultures, and like what it tells you about those different cultures. And I love that like a lot of myths and fairy tales aren't afraid to get really weird with it, which is always a delight to me. Um, yeah, I'd say like my favorite fairy tale would probably be East of the Sun, West of the Moon. Um, Animal Bride stories are a particular delight to me. You know, hey, it's just, whoa, your husband or your wife is an animal. What are you gonna do about it? Um, yeah. And on the mythology side, of course, Greek mythology, incredible, amazing. I've been reading a lot of Greek classics recently, and fallen really deeply in love with those. I would say that Oresteia is my favorite, but like Antigone, really close, really comes really close. Yeah, I really like reading like different plays by different playwrights, like Sophocles, Euripides, etc. Regarding like the general story of the Oresteia, because they differ from version to version, not just in like plot, but also in the way they characterize the characters, which I always found really fascinating. Um, yeah, my favorite character, probably Electra. Yeah, cool. I used to do a lot of like retellings or like adaptations of mythology and fairy tales, and I haven't been doing them so often lately, but I feel like I should, because it's not like I've fallen out of love with them. I still really enjoy doing them. I think it's cool to see how you can like adapt like a previously already known story, and like use it to like explore different things, or literally just explore what's happening in the story itself. Okay, cool. So our fourth question is, tell us about something that you're working on. Um, lately I've been working on, lately I've been researching a ton about like cyberpunk and just science fiction in general. Um, I've gotten, yeah, so I've been working on a few like poems, stories, just general writing pieces about cyberpunk and robots. It's a lot of robots. I think robots are very neat, and I find most things very neat, in case you have not like picked that up by now. But yeah, and artificial intelligence, since there's just so much conversation about that in the news and everywhere lately. That's so I have a few like short stories lined up, and I'm like really excited about them. Okay, so the fifth question is, how do you balance writing and school, or just anything else? So a little context, I am in high school, and this year I took 5 APs, and I'm also a competitive fencer, so I like every week, so there was like months where like every weekend I would be hopping in a car for like anywhere from like 4 to 12 hours to go to a competition and just compete all weekend and then drive back. And so the workload was kind of insane. You know, it's up to you if you want to take that on for yourself, if you're a freshman or junior, sophomore, considering classes for next year. But if you do and you still want to like be able to keep on writing and stuff, what worked for me was basically writing wherever. Like I would have poems or stories where a single like piece of work would be like spread across like 3 different places. There would be like my notes app on my phone and like notebooks, or literally in the margins of my homework for school, where like if I got bored or just like thought of anything, I would just flip to an empty page and start writing. And then there would also be like documents on my computer, right, where like technically all of the story is supposed to go, but it's fine. I could just add the other stuff onto the official document later. And this was really helpful for me, just to like write things down whenever I thought of them, or just wherever I was, instead of having to wait, making myself wait until I got into like an official space and an area where I could like set aside an hour and like grab like a cup of tea and like sit down and type for like an hour. But because it is nice, but it's just not something that I get to have very often. But if I like spread my other writing like across like just my daily life, then when I do have the time, I can sit down and like edit and like type out more important things that I want to like really concentrate on, and it would help me get things done, and help me like keep from burning out, honestly. There were a lot of instances where I would write while on the car, or I wrote a lot on the car, but like also like in between fencing matches, I would like sit down and like get out my phone, put down a few sentences, and then like had to get up and fence again. I hope my coach doesn't see this. I promise I'm so focused on my fencing all the time. Okay, so 6th question is, do you listen to any music when you're writing? It's no problem if you don't. Like, if you don't, like, what do you do to get into the zone? I, however, do listen to music when I'm writing. Usually it's just whatever's been on my mind. I know, like, some people have to have, like, special writing music, or, like, it can't have any words in it, but, which I also like classical music, but usually, I just listen to, random playlists that are on my Spotify. Like I have, it's a lot of rock, or like rock and like pop punk, folk music. It can be like, it's literally anything from like anywhere from like really loud guitar and like screaming into the mic to very sad slow indie song. Some of the artists that I like would be like Mitski, AJJ, the Mountain Goats. I really love the Mountain Goats. This is incredibly evident if you like know me at all or talk to me ever, but or even like see my social media. But yeah, the Mountain Goats are a very good band. I really like their music. Their lyrics particularly, they're really beautiful, and John Darnielle, who is the frontman for the Mountain Goats, he's incredible. He's a very good writer. He's also published books, but his lyrics are like really, his figurative language is really expressive and vivid, and he can like, the way he can like paint like a picture and like establish the atmosphere and establish characters within his music, no matter like if the song is like 5 minutes long or like literally one minute and like 50 seconds. He can like get really into like these specific scenes and these specific characters really well, and his songs like can be a little bit like hyper specific, but in a way that's not universally relatable, but like relatable to a lot of things, and like emotionally touching. Frankly, the Mountain Goats songs are a huge inspiration for my own writing, because songs are also writing, and they are very well written. And yeah. Our 7th question would be, what book or like other kind of like story, no matter what format it is, would you recommend to either get a good example of like what your writing is like, or like if you're like if you understand my you want to understand my writing, then this is like a really good place to start to like show you what my influences are, or just like any book or story that like you think everyone should read. For me, I would say like I am an SQ. It's not a book. It's a podcast. It's not a very particularly long podcast, but it's a horror podcast. It's about a guy who's stuck in a magical city called SQ. He is an SQ. Wow, title drop. But yeah, and bad things happen to him while he tries to get out of the evil, magic, supernatural city. Pretty horrific things. I would say choose this because I think the style of horror and like the kind of like mood that it presents, I think that was like one of like my favorite things to lean into for a long time. It's not really so now, but I feel like you can still like feel it sometimes in my writing, and the kind of like ways that it like explores emotion and flesh as a motif, and cities. It's also about cities, which and setting. And as a writer, I really like to focus on setting and how it like impacts the characters, and just or how it itself can be a character. So yeah, I listened to it, and I really loved it also. So which is why I think you should read it. It's also a little bit absurd. It's not as like some of the media that's like more like kind of like absurd and like random-ish, or like just like kind of like whoa, what am I looking at? Why is they're a little bit harder to like get into, so it's just why I didn't recommend them over SQ. But yeah, I think that absurdity and like hilarity are like, and just humor in general are really like powerful things that you can use in your writing, even if you're not writing a comedy piece. Someone once said that like comedy does like open up your heart a little bit for some of those bigger emotions, and it's also just fun. And I think that like consuming writing and like writing itself be fun is not a bad thing. It's a pretty good thing. And for me, definitely a lot of the stuff, the books and the like shows and whatever that's like impacted me the most have also been like, and made me like feel like really sad or like really profound. They have also been very funny. Okay, so our last question is just a general like any other advice that you have for writers, whether prospective writers or like people who are interested in your particular like modes of craft, or something that you think you want to tell people about writing. And for me, I would say that this would be, don't be afraid to break the rules. I mean, there's this thing in art, and also probably writing, but I've heard it in art first, so that's what I associate it with. But it's like, learn the rules so you can break them. And I think like when you're starting off, I think learning like good grammar and like form and everything is really good, because when later you want to experiment and like break the rules, break the format, break the boundaries of like what you're writing, it helps you like understand like which places to like kind of take the sledgehammer to, and which to help you like form whatever vision that you have for your work. And I just love boundary breaking stuff. I love things that like go outside of the box, and also I think it's like been something that's like helped keep my interest in writing ongoing, and like help me develop my own work, because and my own skill. So because it's like if you're just sticking with one thing, it feels a little bit stagnant. But if you can like manage to like branch out or just do new things, or take what you're doing and like take it to a different level, even if it's not permanent. If the different perspective has helped me, and I hope it'll help you. Yeah, cool. Okay, guys. Thank you for watching. That's the interview. Like, comment, subscribe. That's what YouTubers say, right? Like, comment, subscribe. I'm not your mom though, so you don't have to do any of that. Yeah, not if you don't want to, but if you want to, you can. Yeah. So, like, comment down below if you have to tell us what you thought about this, or like if you have any suggestions, any questions that you want added to like the list that will be asked to other people, and also comment if you want to see someone particularly. If you're a writer yourself, and no matter like what skill level, even if you've just written your first story, or you've written half of your first story, or if you've published like 500 novels, yeah, if you want to be interviewed, please reach out. Our email is Lacuna learning studios @gmail.com. It's also written in our description, and maybe on the video, and also on our website, so which will be linked. So yeah, thank you for watching, guys. See you.